Bezras Hashem Yisporach Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parashat Teruma Shnas Tov Shian Pei Beis. Imagine you had $1 million in your bank account and you decide one day you're going to come to your account to withdraw the money. So you approach the teller and you ask can I please withdraw the $1 million from my account? So the teller is not going to start questioning you. What's the purpose of the withdrawal? What do you plan doing with the money? It's none of his business. It's your money. I'm withdrawing the money from my account. And that's how it works. The teller will just give you the money, the $1 million from your account. But if you approach a donor and you would like him to make a donation to your establishment and you ask him for money, hey, you can't just say, give me the money. Hey, you have to give a presentation. You have to show what you're planning to do with the money. First, you're planning the building. You show an illustration of the building that you're planning to build. Let's say a yeshiva. How many floors will be in the yeshiva? What furniture the yeshiva needs. And then you ask the donor, in what way would you like to contribute to my establishment, to my new yeshiva? What would you like to take a part of this yeshiva? So the question is asked of Moshe Feinstein, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks from Am Yisrael, Dabre b'nei Yisrael v'yikchu li truma, and he asked for a donation from Am Yisrael, shouldn't have the order have been as follows. First, Hashem should have made a presentation of the Mishkan, and the Kelim of the Mishkan, the vessels of the Mishkan, the Aron, the Shulchan, the Menorah, and then asked from Am Yisrael, how would you like to contribute to the Mishkan? Will it be through Zov, gold, silver, copper, cedar wood, wool, silk, all the different things that we needed in order to build the Mishkan. But we find the Torah is written the other way around. We find in the Torah, first Hashem asks for gold, for silver. And then afterwards, Hashem explains where the gold and silver is going to be used for. Shouldn't it have first have been Hashem presents the Mishkan and then ask for the gold and the silver? This is what Moshe Feinstein asks. So he says and explains a beautiful explanation. Because when Hashem asks from Am Yisrael for a donation, the concept is not that the money belongs to Am Yisrael and we have to persuade Am Yisrael with some kind of presentation, but rather it's like Hashem, it's like somebody's coming to a bank and wants to withdraw money, so he takes the money for what? But that he decides what to use it for. This is the same too. When Hashem asks for money, Am Yisrael have to look at it like Hashem is withdrawing the money that's really His. The money that I have really belongs to Hashem. So when Hashem calls, Hashem requests, Hashem asks for the money, we just give the money to Hashem. Hashem, it's your money, take it, do with it with what you want, because you asked for the money. We give the money because Hashem is withdrawing, as you would say. Hashem is taking the money which really belongs to Him. This is our concept. Our concept that the money is not ours. It's by us for safeguarding Hashem's money. So when Hashem wants the money, we just give it. Like the man in the bank, he just give the money. And then afterwards, Hashem explains what He's going to do with the money. A very interesting idea which we can bring to ourselves, our own life. The money that we have, the money we may own, we have to look at it, that it's really, we're holding it for safeguarding for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. See, if there is, somebody comes for tzedakah, somebody comes for request for money, we have to look at it as more like somebody who is in the bank, who gives the money that he feels not really his. I'm just giving the money that was by me for safeguarding, and I am giving it to take a part for taking a part of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu for His has avodas HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the Mishkan, or for whoever it may be, for the poor people, or for spreading Torah, for yeshiva. You have to look at it that you're really giving money that belongs to Hashem. I was just taking care of the money, taking care, safeguarding Hashem's money, and now giving it over for a purpose that will enhance Torah, avodas Hashem, and Am Yisrael as a nation of Am Yisrael. Because this was the building of the Mishkan. And we have to know of an important idea. Number one, the Holy Reb Dov Steinbuch from Gateshead says that B'Shem Rabbi Yerucham, that if the Mishkan, the Oren was so holy, the Oren had such a holiness, the menorah, all the kelim, the vessels of the Mishkan had ashros hashchina. HaKadosh Baruch Hu rested the shchina in the Mishkan. And what's a Mishkan? Does it have a soul? Does it have an neshama? No. So alachas kama v'kama, person who is designed ketzalmeinu kedmuseinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a person is designed in the image of Hashem, and you are created in Hashem's image. Alachas kama v'kama, there's ashros hashchina on every Jew. Every person is zoicha merit ashros hashchina, and that's why we wear a couple. Why do we wear a kippah? We wear a couple because, says the Ramah, cover the shchina, that rests on one's head. Al roishi shchina scale. We have the shchina, and therefore, to show this, we have a couple on our head to represent, that symbolizes the shchina that rests on the head of every Jew. So that's why Rebbe Brucham says, if on the vessels the Shechina rests, of course on a person that was created in the image of Hashem. There was a story a man said from his grandfather who lived in Antwerp, and he went to Prague. He traveled to Prague for business, and he entered the barber shop to have a haircut. And then the man said, while he was cutting the hair, he was saying, you know how old I am? He had a look, how old are you? He says, I'm 114 years old. He says, wow, 114 years old? He says, yes. And no doctors, no medicine, no vitamins, no vaccines, nothing. 114 years old. They said that I have another 6 years to live. So this man asked, how do you know? First, how did you merit to be 114 years old? And second, how do you know that you have another 6 years to live? So he said, because when I was a young boy, I was a teenager, the holy Noda B'Yehuda, the Rav of Prague, he came to have a haircut in my barbershop. And then he dozed off. The Holy Noda B'Yehuda, he was learning the whole time, and night and day used to learn. So when he sits down having a haircut, he dozed off. And so he couldn't continue to give him his haircut. So he put his couple on his head, put it back on the head. And when the Noda B'Yehuda woke up, he suddenly said, "Oh, my couple." And then he said, "No, but I put it already on your head." So he said, "May you live a healthy life till 120 years old." And they said, you see, and this is a blessing of the Noda B'Yehuda that was zoicha to live for now 114 years, a healthy life, no medicine. What do we see from this story? We see, they want to be a minute, they want to doze off that without a couple on his head. That's how we know that Ashros HaShechina is on every Jew. And it says as well in the Pasuk. In the Pasuk it says, V'osu li mikdosh, v'shochanti b'soichom, and then it continues. And then it continues a Pasuk to say, then it says, K'chol Hashem mario ischo, estam iskol kelo v'chein tasu. So it's a repetition. It says, V'osu li mikdosh, build the Beis HaMikdosh. And it says, v'chein tasu, so you should do. But isn't it a repetition? It says a Malbim, it says only Nephesh Achayim. V'chein tasu means in every generation. You may not have the physical Beis HaMikdosh, you may not have the physical Oren and the menorah and the Mikdosh, but v'chein tasu, you can live the Mishkan in your life, in your heart. Believe kol echod ve'echod, you are able to live and the meaning of the Mishkan. So let's understand, first of all, we have to know that especially in this year called Shoivavim Tat, these are the years where we can build the Mishkan. I'd like to explain if it's possible. There is in Yiddishkeit, there are ways on tapping onto great spirituality. There are ways which is called through Zman. One of the ways is through Zman. What do you mean through Zman? through returning to the time where the major spiritual event may have happened, and now you return to that same time, you then tap into that spirituality that took place many years ago. For example, Pesach. Pesach took place on the 15th of the month of Nisan. So now, whenever we come back to that same time of year, the 15th of Nisan, we experience and we come back to that same spiritual redemption that we had when we came out of Egypt so many years ago. Because we return to that time. Say that we return to the time of Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. We return to the experience of Matan Torah, receiving the Torah and Har Sinai. This is called the idea of Zman. Zman is special holiness of time, and through this time, returning to that time of Kedusha, of holiness, one can tap in and one can connect to the holiness of the time. But there is another dimension, another way of returning to the holiness, to spirituality, and that is called Nephesh. What does Nephesh mean? The soul of the person can connect to the story that took place so many years ago. And how is that possible? It's like Kriyas HaTorah. When we read from the Torah, then the person connects to the story of the Torah, and it influences a person. And I give you an example to this, 2 examples. Number 1, we know we start the reading of the Torah beginning of the year. Bereshis. Bereshis is the beginning, like we start the year after Yom HaNoron with Bereshis. Same too, we start reading the Kriyas HaTorah of Bereshis, the creation of the world. We're recreating the world, and again we go through the ideas of Emunah from Avinu and Chesed, and we're rebuilding ourselves, starting Bereshis. Like the year starts, same to the Kriyas HaTorah, what we read on Shabbos, starts again a new and fresh Kriya of the Torah. As well, I remember every Motzei Shabbos, Pasha Shlach Lecho, the Holy Rav Steinman would tell us. Every Motzei, we used to wait for it. Every year, he used to say, Rabbi Sai, Tizaru mi Machloikas. Because now starting Parshas Koirach is a time of Machloikas, and this can influence you. And so run away. This is a week. Be very, very sensitive to any idea of Machloikas. Save yourselves from Machloikas. We see that the Parshas have an influence to your life and to the week when the Parsha is being read. So therefore it's written in the Shloah HaKadosh, and it's brought down in the Halacha, the Mogen Avrom, in Tov Reish Pei Hei, that when we read the Parshas of Shovavim Tat, Shovavim is the short, stands for Shemois, the Parshas Shemois, Va'eiro, Boi, B'Shalach, Yisra Mishpotim, and then Truma Tetzaveh, then we are reliving those parshas through this idea called Nephesh, through these ideas of connecting to what we are learning, and by learning we do come back to these great spiritual experience of the redemption of Mitzrayim. So like Mitzrayim, we had to fight against the impurity of Egypt, like we had to separate ourselves, and we came out of Egypt, and there was to Kriyas Yamsuf, Kabbalah Satorah. So same too, these are the weeks we are reinventing ourselves spiritually, with the purity, with the holiness, until we come to Kabbalah Satorah, our Mishpotim. As we would say it in a version, it is called Sur Meira V'asei Toiv. First is Sur Meira, Yetzias Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, and the killing and the inhalation of the whole Egyptian nation by Kriyas Yamsuf. Finished the Ra. And then Asei Toiv, Kabbalah Satorah and Mishpotim, learning the laws of the Torah. And there we come to Mishpotim. And this is on every general, regular year. We go through this from Shemois until Mishpotim. But says the Mogen Avrom, but the Shovavim idea continues, Truma Tetzaveh. 2 more parshias, it continues, Truma and Tetzaveh. But not every year. Only the year that's a leap year, like this year, Tov Shir Pei Beis. We have 2 Ador. That's why, if you know, Mazel Ador is Dogim. Why Dogim plural? She said Dag. Like it says, the Deli, Teleh, the bus, the bucket, the sheep. So it does say sheep, doesn't say plural language. The muzzle of every chodesh doesn't say it in a plural. Only muzzle ador, dogim, a few fish. Why? Because there's sometimes 2. There's 2 months, two Adors, Ador Aleph, Ador Beis. And it's written, the Pri Tzaddik says, that as well every Chodesh it represents another Shevet, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, right? Ador is Yosef, and makes very much sense because Yosef had two children, Ephraim and Menashe. So therefore we have from Yosef can sometimes be two Chodoshim, Ephraim and Menashe. Now, so we know that this Shovavim continues, what we call Tat, Truma Tetzaveh, as well, only on a leap year does it continue this whole idea, this spiritual experience, connecting to this spirituality in a leap year of Teruma and Tetzaveh. And the question is, why? Why only on a leap year do we have the privilege to continue this idea of Kriyas HaTorah from Shemois to Mishpatim and continue it on to Truma Tetzaveh, whereas a regular year, which is not a leap year, it doesn't continue on to Truma Tetzaveh, it's only Shovavim, but not Shovavim Tat. Says the Holy Prelate Tzaddik Reb Tzadok HaKohen, says the most beautiful, powerful idea, and he says as follows, and the most amazing idea, Rabbi says Gewaldig. He says, because we know there is a lunar year and there is the solar year from the sun. And we discussed this in Parashat Shemois with Barichas. But what's the idea of the two lunar years and the solar year? The solar year is from the sun. The sun takes 365 days for it to make a full circle around the earth, and this is called a year. So we know every time it comes a year, this is a solar year, 365 days. But Hashem wants us to count our month with the lunar year. The lunar year has no year really. It's only month, because the moon goes around the earth only 29 days, 12 hours and 44 minutes. That's a lunar month. 29 days, 12 hours and 44 minutes is a lunar month. So now there is no year, it just goes on. Every month like this, exactly to the second. Every month it comes back around. So we count 12 months with the lunar year. So we end up that we only have, if you count all the 29 days, then you end up only 355 days to the year. So, but Hashem said that we as well need, our years should be calculated according to the sun. So our year is according to the sun, and the month is according to the moon. Meaning, the year, we want Pesach, to know when should be Pesach, has to be always in the spring. Because if we were only going to rely on the moon year, then we'll be 11 days behind. The next year will be another 11 days behind. So Pesach will start going back into the winter. And Pesach will be around Chanukah time. And Hashem doesn't want. Hashem wanted that we should have Shomer es Chodesh Aviv. We need to have, the year should be according to the sun year. So when we come back to Pesach, it should be a year according to the sun. So how do we keep the lunar year? That it should come back and correct itself and be like the solar year. We add another month. So every 3 years, when the lunar year goes back 30 days, we add another month to bring it back to the year should be in completion and in sync, the lunar year and the solar year. Says a Prelate Tzaddik, Amur de Kazach. He says that the whole idea that the the moon year is shorter, is less days, is not as like the solar year, is because we are in the Golus. Because we are in the Golus, Hashem originating the creation, there was no difference between the moon year and the solar year. In the beginning, Hashem created Oira Levono ka Oira Chamo. They both were the same. Meaning, if I may just add a little bit, the meaning is that the sun, Ein Chodosh Tachas HaShemesh, the sun represents Soilom Hazeh. and the Levana that represents the Ruchnius, the spiritual energy. We discussed as well, Parashat, there's a spiritual energy in every month. Every month has its spiritual energy. There was no contradiction between the two. The sun and the moon, the spirituality and the nature were able to work and coexist together. But then we know Hashem shrunk a bit the moon, and the moon is not the same like the Levana. Like the moon isn't the same like the sun. So therefore, that's why we daven by Kiddush Levana. We daven and we say that the moon should return and be as bright like the sun, and there won't be a contradiction between the Gashmias and the Ruchnias. With Man Mashiach, the whole world will be one dimension, everything serving the Ribono Shel Olam, everything will be a dimension of Ruchnias in the whole world, and the sun and the moon will become identical, the same. So therefore, one time when we do a Shana Mu'beres, a leap year, that is like Me'en Olam Habo. The solar year and the lunar year become in sync together. And when does that happen? Only when Mashiach comes. Only when Mashiach comes will the lunar year be the same as the solar year. And so we have a bit Me'en Olam Habo. Because this is a year that we end the lunar year just like the solar year. So therefore, if it's Me'en Olam Habo, we can now as well continue and experience the Kedusha of the Mishkan. We can now experience a Teruma and Tetzaveh. Now we are able to a little bit tap on to the Oron, the Menorah, the Lechem Aponim, the Kohanim in Tetzaveh, the Begodim, the Kovod, the Teferes. Why? Because this is a very special year. It's a year which is Me'en Olam Habo. This is what the Pri Tzaddik explains. The Pri Tzaddik in Chodesh Adar says, Sheyemeya Ibu Mesugolim Yoisel Tshuva. Why? Because he says as follows, it comes to equalize. So Rabbi Isai, we have to, Baruch Hashem, we're able to now understand the spirituality, the special weeks that we have left from the Shevim Tat, Teruma Tetzaveh. These are the two special weeks which you only have on a leap year, and only a leap year, because as we explained, is a year which is considered Me'en Olam Habo. It's like a year which a Mishkan exists, and we are able to Ashros Ashchina and experience this Ashros Ashchina. And why? Through reading the Parshas, we go back and we experience the Teruma Tetzaveh Ashros Ashchina. So this is what Rabbi Yeruchim says. If on the Kalim of the Mishkan, there's Ashros Ashchina, of course on every Jew that's designed in the image of Hashem, of course there will be Ashros Ashchina on every single Yid. But how do we bring the Ashros Ashchina? How are we able to experience this closeness to Hashem, this Ashros Ashchina to the Ribono Shel Olam? So we can look in the Holy Sfas Emes. It says a beautiful idea. It says that there were Meyo Adonim around the Mishkan. That means what separates a Mishkan, what makes it holy, what designates the Mishkan to be a place of spirituality. There were 100 pillars around called Meyo Adonim. Says the Balaturim and Pashas Pekudei, the Meyo Adonim represent 100 brochas that a Jew says every day. Every day we say, we accumulate throughout our tefillah, our davening, our eating, our meals that we eat. We accumulate 100 brochas a day, 100 times adnus. Meyo Adonim, 100 times adnus a day. It says even a bit further, it says, Vayimtzo Yitzchok, Vayimtzo Meyo Shorim. It says in Bereshis, what does it mean? Vayimtzo Meyo Shorim. It says in Shomayim there are 100 gates of blessing. So through saying 100 brochos, you are activating each gate of blessing in Shomayim. And that's how there's Ashros Ashchina, every Jew. By saying 100 brochos, you come connect yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But let's continue what the Sfas Emes says. The Gemara says that be'emes, the world is not ours, like we started saying in the shir. The world really isn't ours. Everything belongs to Hashem. Hashem, you want, you take it. But we as well, we eat from the world. So the Gemara says in Brochus Taf Lamed Hey, it says that it says Omar Rova. It says, Omar Rabbi Yehuda Mashmur, Kol hanene min oilom hazeh b'lo brocha kilu nene mikotshei shemayim. It belongs to Hashem. Why? Because it says, L'Hashem haaretz umloyo. Everything belongs to Hashem. So you're taking something like from a Beis HaMikdash, taking something that belongs to Hashem. It's not for me to take. But yet it says in the Pasuk, L'Hashem haaretz umloyo. It says the Pasuk, Shemaim L'Hashem, V'oretz nosam livnei Yodom. Hashem gave us this world. So does this world belong to Hashem or does it belong to mankind? Lo kasha said, kan koydem brocha, kan lacha brocha. Before you said the brocha, you have no right to eat the food. But after you said the brocha, you have a right to eat the food. As a Sfas, it's a paradox. Because what's a brocha? The brocha says that this fruit belongs to you. This fruit is yours, right? That's what I'm eating, mezonos, the food, moitzi lechem. It's all what Hashem did and it's yours. By recognizing that it's Hashem, then it becomes mine. Isn't it a bit of a paradox? Explain the Sfas Emes as follows. It's written as well in the Gemara, quoting a pasuk, that when a person has to give divorces his wife, he has to give her a get. It says, "V'nosan beyodo." You have to give it in a hand, right? So says the Gemara explains that if the woman were to take the get herself, she's not divorced. If a nosan beyodo, he has to actually give the get to her. And if she takes it, she's not divorced. So v'nosa means he has to give it. So same too, and says in the pasuk as follows. It says v'oretz nosan livnei Yodom. So when a person, it said, when you say a brocha, then you are telling Hashem, I'm not taking from you, you are giving. V'oretz nosan livnei Yodom. Hashem, you are giving me this fruit. When Hashem gives it to me, it's not anymore stealing, it's not anymore taking something that's not mine. So in this world, we're not really taking things. We're not taking the apple or the orange or the food. We are receiving from Hashem. When we recognize through the brocha, we're saying to Hashem, I'm not taking from you. Thank you for giving me the fruit. Thank you for giving me, like v'nosan b'yodo. Hashem is giving us the good and the food and the fruit. Then it's not anymore called a gezela. So this is how we can understand. We can build a mishkan by saying 100 brochos a day, by Jew connecting to Hashem, by seeing how much Hashem gives him, and Hashem is giving, and he's living with Ashkocha protest from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then he is able to experience this closeness to Hashem and Mishkan, especially in this year where we are Tov Shir and Pei Beis is a year that's a leap year, and we are able, like the Tzvi Tzaddik Me'en Olam Habo, to be able to be Zoicha to this great idea of Ashruas Hashchina on every Yid. And may you all be Zoicha to have. Thank you very much for listening. May you have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. Thank you.